Who is this famous lady? To tell the truth, it's Miss Bette Davis. Tonight, Bette Davis, together with two imposters, will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, and Kitty Carlisle on To Tell the Truth. And now, here's your host on To Tell the Truth, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. I want to tell you that's the largest confetti. But I must say, I'm glad that you occasioned it with a little bit of confetti, because this is our return in our nighttime slot, our new slot, on Monday evening, so we hope you'll all be with us every Monday. And good evening to you, wonderful people.
Good evening, Bud.
Have a very exciting new way to play To Tell the Truth with Bette Davis and two imposters later on in the show. But right now, let's meet our first team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Barney Hill.
My name is Barney Hill.
My name is Barney Hill.
Please follow along while I read from my copy of this story, if you will, panel. I, Barney Hill, and my wife, Betty, were driving home one night when we sighted something unusual in the sky. I got out of the car and, with a pair of binoculars, saw through the windows in the disc-shaped object several human-type figures. I ran back to the car, and in a state of near panic, we sped down the road toward home. Then we heard a series of beeps, and both of us felt a tingling sensation. The next thing either of us clearly remembered was again driving the car toward home, but it was 2 hours later, and we were 35 miles further down the road. After months of nightmares and mental distress, we sought medical assistance from a distinguished psychiatrist. Under time regression by hypnosis, both Betty and I independently gave almost identical accounts of a meeting with intelligent humanoid beings who halted our car, took us aboard their spacecraft, examined us physically, and released us unharmed. Neither Betty nor I can prove that this happened, and as a matter of fact, we really hope that it didn't. But nobody, even the technical people with whom we talked, have been able to positively refute our almost incredible story. Signed, Barney Hill. Incidentally, panel, the story of Betty and Barney Hill is the subject of a fascinating book by John G. Fuller called The Interrupted Journey. Let's start the questioning with Orson Bean. Orson?
Thank you. Well, whoever you are, I want you to know that I read every word of the story that was printed in the magazine about you, and I believe it. It's impossible to disbelieve. Number two, how tall were these humanoid creatures?
Well, they were short. When you speak of height, if I had to estimate height, I would say about 5'9" or 5'10" at the most.
Number
really.
three, did they speak English?
Not in an actual speaking type voice. There was something like thought transference.
Number one, what physical symptoms did you later notice? I'm referring to physical things that appeared on you.
Warts.
Warts.
Yes.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number two, I also read the story with enormous interest. I'm delighted to meet you. What did you ask for something to take home from the spaceship?
Well, it wasn't me. It was Betty who asked for something to take home. And it was a book of which we thought we could have some use for. We later found out we couldn't read the book at all.
Number three, how many of these creatures were there?
Oh, I would say between 13, 14.
Number one, when you were examined physically, were you examined in the usual sense that we would make an examination on Earth?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
Number two, did you find no differences between the examination that they were interested in and, let's say, an ordinary physician, Earth physician, would have?
Well, there were differences. Definite differences. Yes.
Number three, did you go to Harvard to have any consultations?
I'm sorry, Kitty. Tom.
Thank you, Bud. This is a great story. We could spend a lot of time, and I will. Number one, do you actually have any memories of this?
Yes.
Number two, do you agree?
Oh, yes, definitely.
What form did they take? Did you have memories of it after you were awakened on driving back down the road?
Well, I had some memories from Indian Head, which is a point in New Hampshire when this whole thing started. Of course, now I have more vivid memories because of the hypnosis that I've...
Let me ask number three that. Were you reminded of things that happened under hypnosis, or did you ever remember any of them without the hypnosis?
Only the things I saw consciously. The things that happened under hypnosis was the trip into the abduction, actual abduction into the ship.
Well, what I mean is, number one, were you alert when you were in the ship and awake?
More like in a somnambulistic state.
Then you...
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number two, when they examined you, did they stick needles in you?
Not needles, needle.
Only one needle?
Right.
Number one, did they stick a needle in Betty, too?
Yes, they stuck a needle in Betty.
Were they like our needles, number one?
I didn't see the needle.
Oh. Number three, is the inside of that space thing, is it furnished like a laboratory or more like a living room?
I would say more like a laboratory.
Uh-huh. Now, number one, were they the same build as us? I mean, you know, or did they, like, have pointy heads or something?
No, they had large cranium, and the chin was very small.
Wouldn't you know it? Number three, when did the U.S. government come and try, like Major Donald Keogh and those people, did they try to question you on what happened in that spaceship?
Well, we reported it initially to Pease Air Force Base in Portsmouth, and we...
That's all the time we have. Wish we did have more. It's a fascinating story. So mark your ballots, if you will, please, without any consultation, and, of course, without changing once you have marked. Vote now for number one, number two, or number three. And our team of challengers will, of course, receive the usual $250 for each incorrect vote. Your ballots all marked? Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number one, Bud. I couldn't tell anything from the stories that they each told, but he looked like the kind of man who would have binoculars handy in his car.
Peggy Cass.
Well, number two said that they were very short, 5 foot 8 or 9. Gee, I know a lot of guys that'd be sore at that kind of a comment. They think they're tall at 5 foot 8 or 9. So I voted for number one because they had big heads and receding chins, and wouldn't you know it?
Orson B.
I think that there's two great liars up there, and I had no way of judging except that the whole thing took place around New England, and when I asked number one about the warts, he said Watts. They had Watts on. And I'm from New England, too, and I know that Watts is Watts.
Kitty Carlisle.
I voted for number two because as I read the story, the physical examination that these humanoid creatures gave was not exactly like the kind you'd have if you went into an ordinary doctor's office anywhere on the earth.
Very well. The votes are all in. Mine's made up as you heard. And now let's find out which one of these three gentlemen, in truth, is Barney Hill. Will the real Barney Hill please stand up? Thank you, sir. Glad they let you back to us safe and sound. That's important, too.
Did the headaches and things go away? All of his bad...
Actually, there weren't headaches. There was distress. I developed an ulcer, and Betty had a series of dreams that lasted for about 5 days.
That's all gone now.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Good.
Number two, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Howard Johnson. I'm a sales representative for Sussex Clothes in New York City.
Thank you, sir. Number three, what is your real name and what do you do?
I'm Dr. Theodor Stent. I'm chief of the X-ray department, Harlem Hospital, Columbia University.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for that wonderful story. And there was one incorrect vote as we checked to see. Then that, of course, is worth $250. And we thank you very much for being with us tonight. Hope it was a pleasant visit for you as it was for us. Goodbye and God bless you. We'll meet our next team of challengers in just a minute after this message. And now let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Barney Schoen.
My name is Barney Schoen.
My name is Barney Schoen.
Follow along with your copies of this story, if you will, panel. I, Barney Schoen, am a singer and dancer in a long-running Broadway show. 8 times a week, for the past 3 years, I have appeared on the stage of New York City's St. James Theater in the hit musical Hello, Dolly. I am the understudy for Sandra Lee, the leading female dancer. Although my job keeps me pretty busy, I have managed to find time to earn a green belt in the ancient art of self-defense, karate. Signed, Barney Schoen. Panel, these 3 lovely young ladies all claim to be Barney Schoen. We'll start the cross-examination this time with Tom Poston. Tom?
All right. I've heard that, number 2, that karate exponents gather their strength from a major source. What is that?
It's usually concentration in a religious way, on Zen.
Gosh. Number 3, tell me how the thumb is held in delivering a karate chop.
It's extended outward.
Thank you.
Very hard.
Thank you. Number 1 is, what does karate mean? Is that 1 word or 2, by the way?
It's 1 word. It means open hand.
Open hand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Peggy Cass.
Number 3, I don't want to be nosy, but do you have calluses on the sides of your hands? You do?
No, because I want to keep my hands fairly nice. I've been concentrating on my feet, the footwork.
Oh. Well, number 2, do you have calluses on the sides of your feet?
No.
Be very good for a dancer, I should think. Now, number 1, you look like such a nice girl. Do you let out those horrible screams when you do karate, or no, the girls don't have to do that?
Oh, no, you do.
You do?
Oh, yes.
Wonderful. Number 3, whom do you practice with? What crazy girlfriends have you got that get in the ring with you?
Well, there are no girls in my class. I'm the only one.
You do this with boys?
Yes.
Now, you're a mother.
Orson B.
Number 1, you're a beautiful young thing, and there's a dirty old man in your company of Hello, Dolly. Lovable Davy Burns. What does he play?
He plays the male lead.
He's a dirty old man, too, isn't he? But adorable dirty old man. Number 3, now, have you ever been mugged in the park?
No.
What a shame. I mean, you're the only girl in New York who could defend yourself, and they haven't bothered you. Well, number 2,
Kitty Carlisle.
It seems like I only asked 2 questions.
Kitty.
Number 2, we've had a lot of people on who were karate experts. Of course, they were always men. And we've always had black belts. How many color belts are there?
There are 4 colors. Many schools have 5.
And number 1, what are the colors?
White, green, brown, and black.
And so you're in the middle in terms of your...
Sort of in the first half.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
That's it. Time for you now to mark your ballots. So mark them again, as you did before, without any consultation, and don't change once you've marked. Vote, if you will, for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Ballots seem to be all marked. So, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 2, Bud, just on the basis of some technical information. I think karate is 2 words, and I think if you hold your thumb up, you won't lock your knuckles the way it should be, so the thumb is down for it. So I voted for number 2. Besides, she looks like a strong, healthy girl.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted for number 1 because she's very terrific looking and dark, and she looks swell in those Japanese outfits.
Orson.
I voted for number 3 because Sandra Lee, whom she purports to understudy, is a tiny little thing, and so is 3.
You left that on the rising inflection. I don't know what to do with it. Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I'm not a karate expert, and I don't understand about the thumb up or down, but I voted for number 1 because she looks like the kind of a girl who could handle that sort of thing.
Very well. The votes are all in and the minds are made up. Let's find out now. Which of these 3 young ladies, in truth, is Barney Schoen? Will the real Barney Schoen please stand up? Okay, Barney. In case you don't believe that a pretty little girl like Bonnie is a karate expert, she's graciously consented to demonstrate her skill for us. And while she's getting ready, we meet our 2 imposters. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Maria Palushkin, and I'm children's book editor at St. Martin's Press.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Jackie Evans, and I'm a waitress at Chuck's Composite.
You want, Peggy?
I go in there all the time. It's near my house.
Well, you'll look more closely next time. This that I have here in my desk is a seasoned piece of pine, 1-inch pine. And it came from just an ordinary lumber yard. And as part of Bonnie's karate demonstration, she's going to attempt to break it with her bare hand. And Jackie has consented to help her. Wow. So, Jackie, if you'll take this and hold it in the proper way. Bonnie's all ready, so here we go. Now, this little preliminary that she goes through is some exercises to get the stomach muscles and all the muscles toned up and ready to go. And final thing she does is beating her stomach to gets the stomach stronger and also breath control by it.
Boy. Well, that'll finish me.
Looks like a million laughs.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you very much. I would, too. Well, in checking the score, ladies, you did very well, as a matter of fact. There were 3 incorrect votes, and that's 3 times $250, or $750 you take along with you. And we personally thank you for gracing our show with so much prettiness. Good night, and God bless you. Now it's time for Bette Davis and 2 imposters to challenge our panel. Now, let me show you the setup. Wow. In front of me, you see an opaque curtain. It runs right straight down the middle of our stage here. It prevents our panel from seeing the other side where Miss Davis and her 2 imposters are seated. Now, panel, there's one other thing that you ought to know. The 2 imposters are not only imposters, but also talented mimics. They will attempt to sound as much as possible like Bette Davis. It'll be your job to determine whether number 1, number 2, or number 3 is the real Bette Davis. And we start the questioning with Kitty Carlisle.
Oh, thank you, Bud. That's fine. You look like a tennis...
I feel like one.
Number 1, you played when you were very young with a famous English actor. Can you give me his name?
Leslie Howard.
What's all right.
I just like it.
Number 2, you used to have wonderful clam bakes in Hollywood, and you invited my husband and me to a clam bake. Where did you get the lobsters from?
From Maine.
Thank you. Number 3, who wrote The Night of the Iguana?
I'm sorry.
Tennessee Williams.
All right. Tom Poston.
Oh, that's so funny. How do you know? All right, number 3. If Tennessee Williams wrote Night of the Iguana, who was your leading man?
Patrick O'Neill.
Gosh, listen to those voices.
Wow.
Number 2, who played with you in 3 on a Match?
That was too long ago for me to remember.
Oh, I just happened to see it the other night on television. Number 1, what is that thing about the letter? When people do impressions of you, what is that letter that they are always talking about?
They're always naming a man named Peter. And he was never in the letter.
Number 1. Yes.
Peggy Cass.
Number 3, you have a son who's very handsome and whom I like very much. What is his name?
Michael.
Thank you. And number 1, where does he go to school? Number 2.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, where does he go to school?
It's none of your business.
Yes, go ahead.
Number 2, where in Boston are you from?
Lower Massachusetts.
Who'd you
Orson Bean.
Who'd you ask to? Number. Number 3, in what picture did you say, what a dump? You came into a room and you say, what a dump.
Beyond the forest.
Number 2, do you know who George Kirby is? Number 2?
I haven't the vaguest notion.
Oh, I figured he's a mimic. I figured if you were a mimic. Number 1.
That's all the time we have. Mark your ballots, panel. Mark them at once without change, without any consultation whatsoever. Vote now. And vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Ballots all marked?
Oh, it's impossible.
Mark it, Kitty.
Oh.
That's the girl. Mark it. All right. They are all marked now. So, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 3. It's very difficult to keep numbers and voices and answers straight, but I think, if I recall, number 3 had the best answers for me, Patrick O'Neill and Tennessee Williams, and I voted for her.
Peggy Cass.
She's the only one that really sounded like Bette Davis to me. Number 3, and she does have a son named Michael, fine boy.
Orson.
Number 1 sounded much more like Bette Davis than Bette Davis does, even. So I figured maybe it was Bette Davis trying to sound like somebody imitating Bette Davis, and I voted for her.
Yeah.
Sure you did.
And Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I can't remember terribly well either, the voices, and I think all 3 of them were remarkable. But if number 3 said that the clams for the lobsters for the clam bake came from Maine, that was Bette Davis, because they did.
All right, there we have it.
All lobsters come from Maine.
Oh!
So the votes are all in and the minds are made up. Now, let's see which of these 3 ladies in truth is Bette Davis. So as I drop this curtain, will the real Bette Davis please stand up? Oh, dear.
She said clams from Maine. I didn't. Number 2 said.
Well, it was a great joy. Of course, I don't have to explain to our panel, but maybe to you watching, although you probably know, too, that our 2 wonderful imposters are Miss Kay Ballard and Miss Patricia Bright.
My favorite answer to Michael's school was none of your business. I think that's the only thing we didn't review. It is the Loomis School in Windsor, Connecticut.
Let's not tell.
Yes, but pull the curtain up and do it again.
May I say something? How
Please.
can anyone in the world really not recognize Bette Davis's voice? Orson, I'm
They were
shocked.
marvelous. You were all 3 absolutely remarkable. It's true.
Kay, you would have known what a dump, wouldn't you?
I would have said it was from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
I have some advice for both of them not to get in this habit. It's going to wreck their lives.
Oh, no, it won't. That's my Peter Lorre impression.
Even 10% of that kind of wreckage we'll all buy. Believe me. What a joy to have 3 such talent on our show tonight, and you've graced us more than we can say. And we're terribly grateful. Of course, there was only 1 incorrect vote. That's worth $250, and you did it.
We just wanted one.
Well, you got it. You got it. And we had one, too. We had one of those nights that we'll never forget. We thank you all for that. Good night, and God bless you. We'll be back in just a minute, but right now, this important message. That's all the time we have for tonight. Be sure to stay tuned for I've Got a Secret. Panel, good night to you.
Good night,
Bud.
Fun in this new setup.
Good to be back in the money.
You join us the same time next week on Monday night, and of course I'll be with you friends with our panel tomorrow on the afternoon show. And in the meantime, don't you forget to tell the truth. Bye.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Trotman production. Carlisle dressed by Bill Black. This is Johnny Olson speaking. Tonight's program was pre-recorded.
The Hooterville Cannonball becomes a rolling doctor's office on Petticoat Junction tomorrow night. Then CBS Reports takes a look at the supersonic race in color.
Was brought to you this evening by General Foods, makers of Dream Whip, whip topping in a box, And Awake, frozen breakfast orange concentrate.